The Chargers are the Chiefs' first victim, foe, whatever you want to call it, in the AFC West this season, and they're coming in a little under the weather. What has to happen, and how do they get it done today? On Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Just place a $5 bet, and you'll get $200 guaranteed in bonus bets right now at FanDuel.com to get started. We're going to get started in the AFC West. I hope you guys are ready for this. Happy Red Friday. A lot to go over in Chiefs versus Chargers land here. This is Chris Clark. I'm Ryan Tracy. Whichever way we're pointing, we're going to give it to you straight. You can find all of Chris's work at Chiefs Corner. KCChiefsCorner.com, that is, over on his Substack. I'm at NFL 33, RGR Football, and Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting. Thanks for making us your first listen. Make your next listen the Charger Show or the Locked On NFL Show or another Locked On show, because we are free 5 days a week on every platform, everywhere, all the time, including here on YouTube, where you can like and sub and hit the bell right now, and you can get over to Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you can get a free audio show, you can get us 5 days a week. If you want it all, breaking news, last minute, inactives, etc., hit 816-357-8781 and get on our text line. For our locos, our everyday listeners, we love you guys and we appreciate you. A lot to go over here. We're going to give you how this is going to unfold. Who are the X factors? What are our predictions? What do we expect to happen? That's coming up later in the show. We must have these things to get the W, and they're a little bit different than every other week. That's coming up next segment, but we start right now. The Chiefs have a little bit of change, but it's all falling apart in Los Angeles. There's I don't know. My arms, how long? That's how long the list of injured is for the Los Angeles Chargers. I don't even know where to start, except the quarterback and the elite pass rusher are both looking very, very iffy to even play or suit up in this game. Chris, what's the bigger impact for us?
Herbert. And if I was Harbaugh, I would not play Herbert. And I've said this a ton on X. I will say, and I said this in the crossover episode yesterday. So if you haven't checked that out, go check that out. If I'm Harbaugh, I'm sitting Herbert. I don't care if he thinks he can play. I don't care if he feels like he's getting better. If he's injured and he can't move, this is not a game to play him in. They're going to be playing their third and fourth string tackles, or I guess, second string left tackle and second string right tackle, if you want to look at it that way. They're basically moving their right guard to right tackle as of right now, it sounds like. So they're going to have 3 of their spots on their offensive line, not with the people that would normally be there. And I get playing him if that's just he's healthy. I get all that. That makes sense. In this game, when they have a bye specifically next week, and you're going up against a KC team that's good luck beating on with a full roster, and you're going to be missing Derwin James as well because of the suspension. I mean, to me, this is a situation where you don't play him. You just look at it and say, Justin, we need you healthy for the stretch run. We've got 13 more games after this. Maybe this costs us the division, but I still think that they can make the playoffs with a good with the good 13 games in the back half of the season, in the back, 2/3 or 3/4 of the season, however you want to look at it. To me, this is a huge risk because the biggest thing that he's going to be going up against is not being able to move. High ankle sprain, you're not going to be able to move as well as you normally do, and that could be a problem when you're talking about pass rush.
Yeah, and he is craftily more athletic than a lot of people give him credit for. He won't be able to use that. The star tackle, Joe Alt, who a lot of us wanted to see in Kansas City, is out with a knee, has not practiced this week. Have a hard time seeing him play in this game along with Bosa and Herbert. So it only makes it that much tougher. Jamari Salyer should start at left tackle. They're going to move. It was Pipkins, right? That they're moving from guard to right tackle, right? So
but Slater's out
patchwork.
Too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying Salyer's going to be at the left. It makes no sense for them. But for the Chiefs on the flip side, they got a couple of backups in the game last week and were not able to take advantage of it in the pass rush. There is no excuse this week. This pass rush has to come through and attack while people are coming to the house, because that's what you do when you go to somebody's house. You go attack them. And I want to make sure that we set the right expectations. Like a couple of pressures and a sack here and there is not enough, right?
No, it's not. And you look at Chris Jones not getting any pressure at all last week, that's a problem. And you're going up against another patchwork line this week. And if he doesn't get pressure, that's a bigger problem. Brandon Thorne does a fantastic job talking about defensive line play and offensive line play. He has out there that the best defensive tackle in the NFL at getting pressure is Tershawn Wharton, which is surprising. But Chris Jones is number 4. Did not expect Jones to be number 4. Expected him to be closer up to the top, but again, not getting a lot of pressure last week. That kind of leads to that. But the bigger problem that you're having in Kansas City is Mike Dana and George Karlaftis aren't getting home, and Mike Dana might not even play in this game.
Yeah, a late scratch here on Thursday. It's listed as a calf. He did not participate in practice, was fine Wednesday, evidently. So it sounds like a very recent pull to me, and they're probably wise to sit him out. So that brings on FAU in my mind. It finally gives Cam Thomas a chance, should be elevated for this game. You have to rotate and get pressure. And if Mike's not out there, you got to patch it together.
Yeah, and it's going to be something where you're going to have to try to figure out where you're going to be bringing the pressure from. And not having Justin Herbert as the QB that they're going up against would be nice. It'd be something that, would be a little bit easier, because I don't think you fear a guy like Taylor Heinicke near as much as you would obviously fear Justin Herbert. And one of the big things that you look into this game, and the biggest thing is, can you stop the Chargers run game? Well, it becomes a lot easier if they don't have Justin Herbert as their starting quarterback. So that's the big question, and that's going to be what we're going to be paying attention for on Sunday. I didn't think he should play last Sunday. He re-aggravated it, and they played him anyway. And now it sounds like he's going to try to push to play again. Harbaugh, I don't know what you're doing if you put him out there, because he could be healthy, almost completely healthy in week 6, because they have a bye next week. But we'll see what they do. I'm curious to see how that ends up.
Well, it's not cheeseburgers for breakfast, but you got to get something done. I will not be surprised at any decision Jim Harbaugh makes, but he'll make some that are playing into what the Chiefs need to do. That is a long list. Pressure is one of them. What do they have to do to get this win coming up next?
With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.5% APY on uninvested cash, receive unlimited 1% deposit bonuses, and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on an IRA account. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC.
PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active users. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. And unlike other apps, PrizePicks, you just bet you against the numbers. Super simple. All you have to do is go more or less on 2 to 6 players of your choosing in a projection and watch the winnings roll in. Right now, they're giving you a deal. Caleb Williams, 1 yard. We've seen this deal for Patrick Mahomes before. Every week in September, that's right. You only need 1 yard to get a win right there. 4 weeks for free W's is what you're looking for over on PrizePicks. I really love that one. I love the over-under on Patrick Mahomes because it's about targets versus yards, and you can always get something that's Chiefs-related as well. So check it out. Download the PrizePicks apps right now. Use our code LOCKEDONNFL, and you get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONNFL on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. This is the time of year where you want to get into the action, and I know you guys do. I do as well. Take advantage of it and check out our sponsors. This is the way that I think we get a glimpse at what the AFC can look like. Because right now, Chargers are the second best team in this division to the Chiefs. That's the way I predicted it. And right now, everything's holding true to my preseason prediction. If you guys missed the AFC Summit we did, go back and check that out. This might change the whole thing, this volume of injury. So for me, when it comes to the Chiefs and playing this game, is very simple. Step on the throat. Don't let up. keep your intensity. Don't walk into this as they can't keep up with us, because it's always the Chargers and they always play you tougher than they expect. You just can't underestimate them.
I agree with that, but what you said, step on the throat and go after it, is definitely not Andy Reid, and that's the problem. This is a situation where he needs to, take it to the Chargers. He needs to make a statement, and this is his chance to. I don't think that he does it, and that's something that's going to be a little upsetting. But Kansas City, this shouldn't be a close game if Herbert plays. If Herbert doesn't play, and if he does play, maybe it's going to be a closer game. But the key here to me is you look at what Kansas City has done so far. They have allowed, I think, 3.3 yards per carry against them. If you hold the Chargers to that, you're going to win. I don't think that is going to be much of a question. I think I think I saw a stat today that said the Chargers were averaging 2.3 yards per carry before being touched, which is huge. So that's something that will obviously need to change, and we'll see if that happens on Sunday.
Yeah, it definitely will. And they have to, especially with Herbert out, rely on that. They got caught last week. Let's be real. With the injury to Herbert playing the Steelers, they had a couple of patty cake games with the Raiders first, then the Panthers. They had to make a quarterback change in Carolina after that. So I think the run game might be a little overinflated. And without the quarterback to balance it, I don't know that you have anything there. It comes back to whoever is behind center, you have to go hit. It's not just pressures. And I won't say it has to be sacks, because especially if it's not Herbert, you just got to hit the quarterback. Throw off the timing, get in his head, make him hear and see ghosts, a la our buddy up in Minnesota. But even if Herbert is there, because he's less mobile, hitting him is the key. That is number one, whether it's from the interior, whether it's sending DBs or the linebacker blitzes, you got to go hit the quarterback.
Yeah, and I wonder, I know what the Chargers have shown so far, and I know that everybody says Harbaugh wants to be a running team, and that's his identity. That's what he wants his team to be. I wonder how much he's been playing a little coy the first 3 weeks of the season. And I say that because you're going up against the division foe that you haven't played as a head coach yet. And to me, this is the team that you have to beat. So does he change what he's done the first couple of weeks and try to do a different game plan, looking at the Chargers and going, looking at the Chiefs and going, well, we haven't beat them forever. They're going to expect us to run. Maybe we come out and we try to pass it. I think it's going to matter who the QB is, maybe a little bit more, but you could still see a changed game plan based on who they're playing and knowing that you have to play a little bit differently and be more aggressive against Kansas City.
That's true. I mean, so far in terms of like grades, their leading receiver is Will Dissly, their tight end. That doesn't necessarily surprise you in a run-heavy offense like you see Harbaugh run. But Quentin Johnson hasn't dropped a pass yet. Call the papers. Surprising. I know that's like alarming, right? Yeah, it caught me off guard too. But the guy that actually, I think, you have to run that through is going to be Ladd McConkey, because I think in terms of the matchup, getting on linebackers, it's going to be about him and the tight end. So I think we've established that as a weakness for the Chiefs. If they can shore that up, I think that is going to really be the key. So that distance, 5 to 12 yards down the field, where you're going to get attacked from the interior players, either tight end or slot receiver. I think that's the thing that they must have in order to secure this.
Well, and the big question I have is, what are the Chiefs going to do defensively? Who are they going to trot out there and put on the slot receiver? Is it going to be Trent McDuffie? Are they going to try to take that away, knowing that Quentin Johnston is a guy that you think that you can maybe, if you felt like you had to double, but you could give safety help over the top and not necessarily straight double, but just put a corner out there and let him go after it. And if he beats you a couple of plays, he beats you a couple of plays. But if you take away their bread and butter and you take away the middle of the field and what they've really been doing well, especially if Herbert's not playing, I think that could really be something for Kansas City. I'm really curious to see what they do with McDuffie in this game, because they've moved him all around so far this year. Chamari Connor is another guy that they've moved all around, and so I'm curious to see how they use him. And is this the week that we actually see Jaden Hicks step in?
Maybe. That would be a pretty prime matchup, especially given those weapons. Who are the X factors that can stand out? That's next up on the agenda, coming up next. Right now, you guys can get into the action. for all of you NFL fans, you can get back into this season with a big return at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game and you want to go check it out, whether it's the late stats or whatever's changing in that game flow like it did tonight, you can check the live play-by-play, get much more on the same page, and then go place your bets during the ball game. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets right now, guaranteed, when you place a $5 bet. And if you had Rashee Rice going over 100 yards in this one, you made yourself a nice little bundle. You can do it all at FanDuel.com. Go check it out today. That's FanDuel.com. And check out Locked On. Now, there's a lot of names we've already dropped, but check out Locked On NFL. You might hear them again, either in the morning with Tyler or in the afternoon with Tony. Get your double dose over at Locked On NFL. It's about who stands out. So if you had to pick one X factor in this game, who is it?
Honestly, I think the X factor in this game is probably going to be Travis Kelce. And I say that because one of the things that the Chargers are going to miss is Derwin James. And so how do you try to defend Travis Kelce in this game? Because Derwin James, I'm not going to say Derwin James has shut Kelce down. He's had his number to an extent. He's slowed him down, but they're not going to have him this game. So how is that going to affect what they do on defense? And how are they going to try to stop Kelce? Because if you go back and watch some of the other games, it's Kelce getting double and triple teamed at time, or at least having, 3 guys within 10 yards of him that has opened up other things for the wide receivers and for the rest of the Chiefs offense. So what are they going to do with Travis Kelce? Are they going to continue to try to double him? Are they going to take that page from somebody else from the other team's book? If they do that, then it's going to open things up for Rashee Rice. And to me, this is a scenario where you have to get Patrick to, get his fundamentals down and start throwing the ball downfield. Take a shot with Worthy, maybe take 2 shots with Worthy, but give him air under the ball so we can run under it versus underthrowing him, because that's been a problem the past 2 weeks.
I agree with you. And I think the safeties are certainly going to be in the X factor there. I think it's going to be Xavier Worthy attacking them, because when you remove Derwin James from this group, on 26 targets against the Chargers safeties, they've stopped exactly one of them by a guy that wasn't Derwin James. So you have completions out there to make. And I do think that this is something, especially if the attention does come to Trav and it's not Derwin, I think there's opportunity there for Xavier Worthy to get loose.
Well, and Tony Jefferson just got elevated from the practice squad to their active roster. I'm guessing he's taking Derwin James's place. So that's something to watch. Obviously, he's a couple of years removed from having a great impact on the game, but he's still a safety that can make plays. So we'll see how that ends up. But I do think that this Chiefs offense needs to take a step forward this week and get into rhythm. And if that's throwing the ball 2/3 of the time, I'm okay with that, because this is a situation where you need to get the offense going before you come back from the bye week. You're going to come back from the bye week against San Francisco. You need to have your offense figured out by then to have a good chance in that game. And you still have the New Orleans Saints on deck next week, who have been able to move the ball and score a lot of points in most games. So this is a game where you try to get right. You try to figure it out against the Chargers. And especially if Justin Herbert's playing, you're going to have to score more points than I would really think. I'm really kind of surprised. I think the FanDuel line is like 7 points right now. I would imagine that would mean that they think the Chargers aren't going to play Herbert, because I can't see it being a 7-point line otherwise.
Yeah, I agree with you. And honestly, when you talk about those matchups, the Saints might be the more difficult ball game right now. So we'll see what happens with those ones. It's difficult for me to really just pick one, but I would say the last X factor for me could be Kareem Hunt. I didn't expect him to get elevated to the 53 yet, so he's a little ahead of schedule there. And he says he's in good shape. They clearly are happy with Carson, but I do think they want a 1-2 punch, a true one, with Savant being the third down back. I think that's how it starts, and they try to feather in Kareem Hunt. But with his experience, if he is truly in shape, if he gets a crease and Denzel Perryman's still out there, he can run away from him. And I do believe that there's an opportunity there. So just watch out for maybe even in limited touches, Kareem Hunt could make an impact.
Well, and I think we'd be remiss, and I don't expect that he's going to be playing this week, but I think it is interesting that they brought back Jody Fortson to the practice squad. Kupp went to practice squad IR, so that is the corresponding move. So it kind of makes sense to bring in another tight end. But Fortson knows the offense. I don't necessarily expect him this week, but they could elevate him. They have an open roster spot, so that's interesting to say the least. I don't know what they're doing with only 52 players, but Clyde could come back next week, so who knows what they're going to be doing at that point. You look at this and you look at what needs to happen, and the biggest X factor to me needs to be Chris Jones. And maybe he is too big of a player to be considered an X factor, but to me, with how absent he was when you talk about pressure last week, he needs to have his huge
Head
game
exam?
this week.
Oh.
No.
Yeah.
Not head exam, but
he's got to step up there.
he's got to get pressure. I mean, he needs to be a guy that is getting pressure on 30 to 40% of the snaps. When you're talking about going up against a second team offensive line, basically across the board, you need to be taking advantage of it and set him out there, let him go. Pipkins, even though he was a limited participant, is expected to be the right tackle, is dealing with an injury. So he's still dealing with an injury with his hands. This is a situation where they need to take advantage of who they're going against and make them pay. I hate injuries. I wish that this was going to be a full strength game, but it's not. Take advantage of that, use it to your advantage, and get after the quarterback. If you get after their quarterback, they're not going to be able to run the ball because you're going to be able to sell out against the run and get pressure on the QB. And McConkey is the only one that really scares me. Johnston, yes, he hasn't dropped a pass yet this season, but he's not had a great career in the NFL yet so far, so he doesn't scare me overall. Watson's been playing very well. He doesn't have the height for it, but you can kind of double him, I suppose. Put a safety over the top and just protect.
I agree. I mean, I expect to see McDuffie trail McConkey because all the other nickels, corners, outside, inside, doesn't matter. They can all cover Johnson. Johnson's not running away from anybody. He doesn't have the agility or the deceleration to get away from anyone and create space. The physicality aspect for Joshua, for Jalen, for Nazi, for Chamari, all of them can compete with Quentin Johnson. McConkey's the X factor as far as who they have to defend. So with all that put together, what's your prediction? How does this go down?
I was gonna say Joshua Palmer is also a guy that is coming back from an injury, so I think that's another guy. He's not as big of a factor in my mind as Johnston is, and I don't think Johnston's a huge factor. So that's kind of how I feel about Palmer. Can he beat you? Yes, but I think that this Chiefs defense has the DBs to be able to take care of it and should be able to take care of it. I'm going to cheat a little bit here because I'm going to give two different score predictions just because I don't know who's going to play. I mean, if Herbert plays, it's a different game. If Herbert plays, I still think Kansas City is going to score 27 points and the Chargers score maybe 21 if Herbert plays. If Herbert doesn't play, this game could get out of hand and it could be, 35-13. Just because if you get to a point where you're able to take the ball away, well, not necessarily even take the ball away, but if you get to the point where they can't run and you make them one-dimensional, they're not going to be able to hold the ball very long, and Kansas City should be able to take over drive-wise and control the clock and score more points. So it's really going to depend on Herbert. And if I'm Harbaugh, I'm still not playing him because I still don't think you win regardless.
Agreed. I'm only doing one prediction because I don't think Herbert will play. I don't think he should play. So that's the scenario that we're working under here. And Dobbins and Edwards and the rest of the running back room doesn't scare me enough. The Chiefs are better against the run early this season than they have in any of the last 3 seasons. And they've been able to deal with the Ravens running attack, which is basically now moved to Los Angeles. So that combined with the lack of offensive line, it does become about playing zone defense, understanding how to control the wide receivers underneath. That's what I see happening. And in the end, I don't think it's that close. I think the offense starts to click. They get some chunk plays. I think the Chiefs win this. 31-17 is what I'm predicting.
And it's going to be curious because their center is supposed to be a guy that can really push in the run game, but he might be the only guy that's going to be able to push in the run game when you look at all the backups that they're going to have to play at different positions. This is a situation where you should be able to take advantage of this team. And if the Chiefs don't do that, then I think that there's more concerns that will need to be discussed afterwards.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. We'd love to know what you think. What is your prediction for this game against the Los Angeles Chargers to open the AFC West competition? Leave your comments down below here on YouTube. Thank you for being with us. We very much appreciate it. You locos, you know where to find us. It's at 816-357-8781. Make sure you get connected there. It's going to be a great time. We're going to be live following the ball game, so don't miss us there. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you after Chiefs Chargers.